If I am enamored Bola Tinubu's situation, the wife is a senior pastor in a Pentecostal church, I will go Muslim ticket. The most important thing is for the party to win. It's not, we should stop all this rubbish about whether you put a Christian there. After all, if we win, already the wife is a pastor. They have been living for over 40, 50 something years together. I've known them this far. So why do you want to blame about, she's already like a deputy president. If I'm to say, I'm saying I'm a Catholic. I'm saying my opinion. This is Oji Carlos' opinion. You cannot deny me my opinion. But you can also play Christian ticket, depending on the scenario. Because if we don't play Muslim, we're in trouble. We will not win it will be most difficult to win the election. Because the only thing left to Ahmed Tinubu today is to play Muslim. I know that the church I go to, the Catholic secretary might condemn it, so it's not good to. What is wrong with Muslim ticket? I don't see anything. In my eye, there's nothing wrong with Christian ticket. Also, it depends on the condition. The condition we found ourselves today, that you cannot play two minorities. Tinubu is a minority Muslim from the south, and if you put a Christian from the north, it's a minority Christian from the north. You cannot play two minorities. So it is difficult. No, listen. What I am telling you is sincerely from my mind. It's not the position of our party. Yes. This Oji Carlos' position. I sit with Ahmed Tinubu's wife in the Senate, and the wife is a pastor. So there's nothing wrong with that. They've been married, and moreover, I've known Tinubu for a very long time. He's not a man who preaches Christian and Muslim. He's a man who goes with everybody who can do the work. So for me, the issue of is a Christian, I know that most Christians will be hurt what I'm saying, but putting a Christian will not make him to be a best president, or picking a Muslim will not make him. It's his conscience. Conscience is a wound. Only the truth can heal it.
So you don't think that a Muslim ticket means that Tinubu is putting his faith too much in the hands of the North against his own South?
Are Northerners, are they not Nigerians? Are they not Nigerians? No, I ask you, answer me. Are they not Nigerians?
Yeah, Nigerians. The Southerners are Nigerians as well.
Well, some interesting takes. All right, there. Well, we right now in the studio, we have a member of the APC, Honorable Shehu Atta, to help us dissect this issue from an APC perspective. You're welcome to Daybreak.
Thank you so much.
All right, so we've just heard Oji Uzukalu,
yes,
and with his own opinion concerning the potential running mate for your flag bearer. That's for the APC. What do you align with what he says?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I align with what he said because, you know, no two political period is the same. The scenario that played out in 2019 is quite different from the scenario we're having now. In 2019, we had President Muhammadu Buhari running for his second term coming from the North. And it was easy for us to ride on his progress and his popularity from the North. And the North as well having the voting strength for the country, you know, the political strength for the country. So right about now, the scenario is the same, it's different, because we have a presidential candidate coming from the minority southern part of the country, the southwest, in the person of Bola Tinubu, like Senator Oji Uzukalu just mentioned. We have to analyze what we have on our hands, and our focus is to win the election. So if we're going to win the election on a Muslim ticket, we have to win election first before we can constitute government. And the paramount thing in APC's mind now is continuity, because the president has done a lot of things that need to be continued. I get in it. And when you look at PDP's primary election, they have sacrificed everything on the altar of winning the election. On the altar of political expediency, they have sacrificed everything. So we have a northern president that have run 8 years, and they still give their ticket to a northern candidate on the altar of winning election. So what is paramount for us now is we have been able to conduct a primary election successfully. We have gotten a best candidate who can bring forward on a free and fair primary election in the person of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and our focus is winning election.
Talking about winning election, we have heard all kinds of arguments, just as you have aligned with what you think is best. But what is the price for this decision? You would have listened to the position of Lalong, and he made some very germane,
absolutely,
raised some very germane concerns.
Inclusion.
Much as the majority would have their say, it's important that it is seen that the concern of the minority is also taken on board. Is it just about winning elections or about keeping a country? Well, it's easy to say the PDP gave up everything. Maybe the people were hoping the second, the two biggest political, the other one would have taken their sensibility into account. Is it about jettisoning people's feeling on the altar of doing everything to get to the office?
Okay, what is the problem we're having in Nigeria? I would say it's not even about religion. I get in it. The problem we're having in Nigeria is about failure of governance that has accumulated over a very long period of time. You know, it's irrespective of, I have friends that are Christian. Most of my best friends are Christians. You get? So it's not about religion, ethnicity, or it's about performance. We have a PDP government that since the advent of democracy that have done 16 years, they've not been able to lay a good foundation for the country. So the people have been so pushed to the wall that, okay, what will result to now is religion, faith. To have a sense of security, we put our hope in God. To have a sense of performance, politician performing in the various offices, we put our faith in God. So what we're talking about is performance, not about religion. So we need somebody that will come and reset our security.
That speaks to my question, essentially, which is the point I would like us to address. Is it that it is impossible to find people who would give us performance, who can, because it does appear to me that even the consideration of the Muslim ticket is to appeal to the sentiments of some persons where they think the vote will come from. If that is good enough to take into account by those who want to win the election at all costs, it also means that the argument of the other people is germane, because we have seen politicians who get to the office and every government allocation goes to their village. We have somebody in the Senate today who has somehow managed to push 2 universities to his own local government, whereas he represents 6. You know, on those kind of accounts, people then begin to come to the realization that the only way we can get something on our side is when somebody from our side is in power. So how do we? It's a genuine agitation, and the people who have perpetrated these acts are from both parties. The PDP had 16 years. You said they mess up. Let's take it without conceding. You have also had 7 years. We have seen a continuation of those attitudes. Are we addressing this the right way? Rather than say it's just about winning the election, are we putting forward the competency of the candidate rather than the place where they come from?
Now, you know, we are so fortunate in this political period. When I say we are so fortunate is that I'm talking about the APC. I'm not talking about the PDP.
I get it.
Because we have a candidate that is Bola Ahmed Tinubu that is detribalized. That is, his decision is not informed by your faith, or whether you're preaching Islam or you're preaching Christianity. He's detribalized, not talking about ethnicity, he's not talking about religion. As a matter of fact, to cap it up, he has married a wife of over 30 years that is a senior pastor in the Pentecostal church. You know, so when I'm talking about, and this is the closest person to our presidential candidate on the surface of the earth today that he sleeps and wakes up with is a pastor. So if he's somebody that they've been married for over 40 years, and if somebody that is thinking about religion, as the predicating his sense of judgment, he wouldn't have married a pastor. So now, let's put that aside. We're talking about competency. Somebody that will come and reset and build on the positives that this government have recorded for the past 7 years. The PDP has opportunity of resetting this country in 16 years. A child of 16 years is almost an adult. Is an adult.
I agree.
The PDP has an opportunity of resetting this country, of putting everything in place, of preaching a country where your religion, your faith will not trump before your performance.
But
so we're
other
lucky
people-
to have
yeah.
we're lucky to have a candidate in Ashiwaju that is coming from a private sector with a robust experience in the public sector, and we have seen his track record. He's a very brilliant man. He's an you listen to him spoke on the day he picked up his presidential the APC presidential flag bearer. You know, listen to, so did he speak like somebody who is a religious chauvinist? He did not. So we are lucky to have an Ashiwaju that will choose a vice president that will deliver the vote to us. If we don't form government, how do you talk about delivering on on governance? So we must be in government first. This is not the party's position. It's my personal opinion. So anything can still happen.
All right. We're still talking about competence and the right person for the job, the right man for the job.
Yes.
Lots of names have been thrown
Bandied
into the
around.
mix. Exactly. Kashim Shettima on one end, Yakubu Dogara, Simon Lalong. All of these names have actually been thrown into the mix. If we look at them now, and even Boss Mustafa, his name is also has been thrown into it. Are all these people that we're talking about, are they all qualified in your eye to actually deliver what you just talked about right now? A person that can actually unite the country, be a positive influence, and of course still deliver the votes that you need to win the election?
Like what I'm going to answer you now is my personal opinion. I'm not saying the party's position.
That's right.
It's my personal position. Evaluating our prospective vice presidential candidate with the caliber of people we have on board. Talking about the Yakubu Dogara, Boss Mustafa, Kashim Shettima. You know, in APC, we have array of progressives, minded, smart, young men and women that can deputize or be the next vice president. They're all qualified. As a matter of fact, from the northeast flank of the country, we have an array of them. All of them are qualified. In fact, the name I've not even seen that I was expecting to see there too is Malam Nuhu Ribadu. Yes, Malam Nuhu Ribadu is also from northeast. He's qualified. He is the founding father of the EFCC. This is a man that built an institution within just 3 years. And that institution is ranking in the country today as one of the best institutions, that is the EFCC. He's also qualified. I should be seen about 4 names there. So irrespective of religion, the APC has array of individuals from the northeast that are highly qualified to deliver on, and you have to start looking at individual strength. Why I'm passionate about Malam Nuhu Ribadu's antecedents or experiences is, this is somebody coming from security, by getting it, and policy background. Somebody that have successfully built an institution. Before you can deliver to governance, you have to have a formidable institution that can anchor on that. This is a man that built an institution in 3 years. And up to this period, that institution is one of the best in the country.
You know, I have to cut you. It's because I don't want
we should include him on the list.
Because we may have to raise you a receipt for campaigning for Malam Nuhu Ribadu. As you were talking about him, one interesting juxtaposing perspective in my head was, on the one hand, you said PDP lost the opportunity to do anything. And today we are conversing for a candidate that was discovered and made by the PDP and talking about an institution that he built under the PDP. It's ironic how this country works. But we also hear of a certain gentleman agreement he had with the governors about producing his running mate. Could this have been the reason why this whole process has been delayed? I want to think that for a man who has had a lifelong ambition to be the president, he ought to have at the back of his mind the person who he think would be a fitting running mate. Why is it taking forever? Why do we have to keep everybody as tensed as we saw during the convention to be able to just say, this is the man? And I'm saying this because in previous conventions, whether it's of the APC or the major opposition party, within 24, 48 hours, we knew who these running mates were, whether they were usual people or they came from somewhere, but at least we knew who they were, and the journey began in INEC. Why is this process just nearly impossible, and why do we have to deliver these just moments before the deadline?
As you can see, like referring to PDP, they did their convention
Much
almost
earlier.
2 weeks before we did ours, and up to now they are still in
in
crisis
that
of
quagmire.
choosing the vice presidential candidate. Is because of the time we find ourselves. You know, they rocked the water for us. Ideally, what the PDP ought to have done was to come on board with a politics of inclusiveness. You get to come on board with that, but they tend to trump a winning election before thinking about inclusiveness.
Which is a part you are also following now.
No, that's not the path we are following, because we have actually laid a good foundation we have been able to keep our words that our next presidential candidate is going to come from the south.
Okay.
And that's exactly what we have done. It's unthinkable that we have a president coming from the north and he has done 8 years, and you're still going to give your own...
you see, that boils down to the same arguments for me. If
So it's
about
an unusual
competency,
time. It's an unusual time that we need, and we thank God our candidate is a very smart man, somebody that is a visionary. So, and I would know that whoever is going to emerge as our VP candidate is going to think about the capacity, the ability of the person to complement his own skills. And he's going to look at the country, because it's the country first.
That's right.
He's going to look at the country, and as a progressive and as somebody who is very, very, very brilliant. And we are hopeful that beyond 2023 we are going to have a country that is more stable. And I'm sure he's going to put all this into consideration. And it's not a decision you rush to make. You have to do a lot of consultation, trade-off here and there, consult with our party leader, with our President Muhammadu Buhari. And I'm sure at the end of the day, when this is announced, I will all be impressed.
All right. So I'll have to get your view on this. I want to know what your view is on a female vice presidential candidate, because that's something that has
I think we
surfaced.
saw some names too flying around. Some of our finest breeds who are on international duty. International duty at the moment came up for mentioning.
Exactly.
I'm not sure whether it's for the APC. I think we saw Amina Mohammed come up for mentioning. We also saw Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I mean, in their rights, they will be an ideal vice president any day. What's happening to that part of inclusion?
Just opposed. Like Nigeria is a very great country, and we have a lot of talents, we have a lot of capacity, north, south, west, east, we have a lot of talent irrespective of gender, and we have been able to produce a lot of female leaders that have worldwide recognition. Okonjo-Iweala, Amina, Muhammad in the UN and all that. But in doing this, in choosing our vice presidential candidate, you have to consider the terrain. This is politics. And politics is a game of number.
I hope those women are not listening to you. Because the numbers actually belong to them.
It's a game of numbers. This is politics.
But the majority of people that you see in the polling units when it's time to vote are women.
Yes.
Women
Why would
are
they
the
not...
ones that come out to vote.
But you cannot extricate culture, culture from politics.
What about competence? Does that go out the window?
No, your ability to be able to manage all this and deliver is what makes you somebody like an Asiwaju.
Interesting.
You get your ability to maneuver, your ability to maneuver between the context of culture, religion, ethnicity in the country we find ourselves and still being able to deliver.
But
that is what an Asiwaju has been able to
But
achieve
if we're
in
talking
Lagos.
about inclusivity, it's not just about religion or which part of the country you come from.
Yes.
Gender is also a part of it.
Absolutely.
So if we're trying to be inclusive, why aren't the women in it with a shout?
No, the woman must not occupy the vice presidential position.
But Shiwaju has a history of having a woman as a deputy.
Absolutely.
Why not at the national level?
You know, in the southwest region of the country, coincidentally, is a region where religion is much downplayed, or your gender is much downplayed, because probably because of their level of enlightenment. You know, in a household, you will see the head of the family can be a Muslim, and the wife will be a Christian. You get, or the head of the family can be a Christian and the wife. So they don't really put that as a factor. You know, and when you look at Asiwaju's antecedents, Tinubu's antecedent in Lagos, you know, this is a man that had somebody from the southeast as a commissioner, somebody from the southwest, Lagos, you know, other states within the southwest region as commissioners in his cabinet, Christian, Muslim, you know, mixed. And they were still able to deliver and leave a legacy that we're talking about.
Okay, I would give you the opportunity to answer 2 quick questions in 30 seconds. The first one is, I know you have talked about Nuhu Ribadu. Who do you think would emerge in this round? That's the first one. The second question, which is a prelude to that, is how long until we see this person? Do we have to wait to the wee hours of tomorrow? Or is there going to be an announcement today, given that you have some knowledge of the inner workings of the APC?
Okay. Well, the response I'm going to give here is my personal, from what I have seen, you know, so far. Who is likely to be, from my opinion?
Okay, let me make it easy for you. Can you rank in order of priorities?
Oh, in order of priorities. If I'm going to rank in order of priority, my own priority is going to be, the question I'll ask myself now is, what is the major problem of the North now? Because in identifying what the major problem of the North is now, then you should be able to think about that and marry that to our current presidential candidate. You get, our major problem in the North now is security. And that is why I was thinking about somebody from the Northeast in the caliber of Malam Nuhu Ribadu.
Okay.
I'll rank him first.
I was thinking Shetima as a governor who confronted security.
I will rank Malam Nuhu Ribadu first.
Okay.
Then I'll rank Shetima second.
Okay.
I get in, and others follow.
Okay, interesting. And so when do you think this whole
The deadline is tomorrow.
Yes, that's by
going
INEC.
by INEC deadline. By the end of the day, we should be able to come up with something, or by early hours of tomorrow morning.
Interesting. Interesting. It's been an interesting time talking with our guest, Honorable Shehu, who has given us deep insight into the workings of the APC, the thinking of some members of the APC, including himself, on some of the dynamics and the permutations that seem to have gone underground, some of the undercurrents that are not playing out exactly in the television screen, on deciding who that running mate will be. Interesting time in the annals of our political history. We would understand eventually the considerations for this. As we have heard from a lot of party forerunners, that quite a number of things are in contention. And as he said, there has to be, you have to win an election to constitute a government, to talk about competency and all of that. It's a pleasure having you in the studio once again, talk about this. We hope that when the candidates emerge and when we beckon on you again, you will come around and maybe help us understand what would have gone down with regards to the choice of that candidate and what exactly he brings to the ticket. Thank you for finding time to be with us, and have a fruitful day ahead.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure coming here.
It's a pleasure.